fire falling from the sky, entire cities disappearing in a single night, and ruins that still intrigue archaeologists around the world. In places that were once centers of power, wealth, and multitudes, only silence, dust, and secrets buried beneath centuries of history remain. What really happened to these cities, and why have none of them ever been the same again? What did these 7 cities really do to disappear so dramatically? And what remains of them after centuries of history and destruction? Throughout this journey, you will discover not only what these places were like in the past, but also what can still be seen today, and why archaeologists remain fascinated by these ancient mysteries to this day. Subscribe and like this video so YouTube shares it with more people. Give it a super thanks if you can, or comment on what surprised you the most. Number 7. Babylon. Babylon was for many centuries a vibrant center of knowledge, commerce, and innovation, known for its impressive urban organization and the ability of its rulers to transform an ordinary city into one of the greatest symbols of power in the ancient world. Located in a fertile region between great rivers, the city prospered thanks to abundant agriculture and trade routes that connected peoples of different cultures, allowing the circulation of rare goods, ideas, and traditions that profoundly enriched the daily lives of its inhabitants. Babylon became famous for its monumental constructions, including enormous walls that protected its citizens and gates decorated with artistic details that demonstrated the high level of skill of local artisans. The city was also known for its grand temples dedicated to various deities, reflecting the strong religious presence that was part of people's daily lives, from political leaders to ordinary workers. Over time, Babylon came to represent not only material wealth but also a lifestyle marked by luxury and confidence in its own strength, leading many rulers to believe that their city would never be surpassed or forgotten. This sense of superiority contributed to Babylon becoming a powerful symbol in ancient texts, frequently mentioned as an example of how great empires can grow rapidly but also face decline when they fail to recognize limits and responsibilities. The city's cultural influence was so profound that its administrative systems, laws, and forms of record-keeping helped shape practices that would be adopted by other civilizations throughout the centuries. Today, the ruins of Babylon remain near the modern city of Hilla, in a landscape that blends historical vestiges with the region's natural environment, allowing archaeologists and visitors to directly observe signs of the grandeur that once dominated the area. Among the elements still visible are parts of ancient walls, the foundations of imposing buildings, and pathways that suggest how people circulated within the city, offering valuable clues about daily life and the commercial activities that sustained its economy. The preservation of these historical remains has made the site an international point of interest, attracting researchers seeking to better understand the evolution of early major cities and how ancient societies organized their political and religious power. As visitors walk through these ruins, they report feeling a strong connection to the past, imagining the sound of caravans arriving laden with goods and the constant movement of people that gave life to one of the most influential cities ever recorded in human history. Number 6. Nineveh. Nineveh stood out throughout history as one of the largest urban centers of the ancient world, recognized for its impressive size and its capacity to bring together thousands of people within an organized system protected by robust defensive structures. The city had planned streets and ample areas dedicated to commerce, which facilitated the constant flow of merchants from distant regions, bringing rare fabrics, precious metals, and spices that made the local markets bustling with activity and cultural diversity. Assyrian rulers invested heavily in the construction of magnificent palaces, decorated with detailed reliefs depicting scenes of battles, hunts, and ceremonies, demonstrating the military power and authority that underpinned the city's grandeur. These records carved in stone served not only as decoration, but also as a way to preserve the memory of the conquests and traditions of the people who lived there, transmitting messages of strength and dominion to all who crossed its monumental gates. Daily life in Nineveh was marked by intense intellectual and administrative activity, as the city housed scholars responsible for recording information on clay tablets, creating a vast collection that helped preserve knowledge about astronomy, mathematics, and ancient literature. This organizational effort allowed important information to be transmitted from generation to generation, contributing to the city's cultural legacy remaining relevant even after its fall. Nineveh's fame was also linked to its architectural grandeur, with well-maintained gardens and areas for public ceremonies that brought the population together on special occasions, strengthening the sense of collective identity and pride among its inhabitants. Over the centuries, the city became a symbol of authority and discipline, remembered as an example of how the combination of urban planning and political power could transform a region into a dominant center. Currently, the ruins of Nineveh remain near the modern city of Mosul, where extensive archaeological areas reveal fragments of ancient walls, monumental gates, and building foundations that help specialists reconstruct the site's original appearance. The study of these remains has allowed researchers to uncover details about the way of life of the ancient inhabitants, including construction techniques, forms of social organization, and strategies used to maintain the city's security against invaders. Many visitors who explore the site report feeling awe at the scale of the remaining structures, imagining what it would have been like to walk those streets in ancient times, surrounded by the intense movement of workers, soldiers, and merchants who contributed daily to the functioning of one of the most influential cities of its time. The preservation of these ruins remains fundamental to understanding human history, as each stone found offers valuable clues about the evolution of civilizations and the ability of ancient peoples to create complex communities that left deep marks on the cultural development of the world. Number 5. Hazor. Hazor stood out in antiquity as an important urban center that exerted a strong influence over various surrounding communities, being recognized for its strategic position that facilitated the control of trade routes fundamental for the transport of goods and valuable resources. Its privileged location allowed caravans to traverse the region, transporting agricultural products, metals, and handcrafted objects, creating an active economic environment that sustained the city's continuous growth over the centuries. Hazor was known for its well-organized urban structure, composed of spacious residential areas, spaces dedicated to commerce, and administrative sectors that demonstrated the planning capacity of its leaders. The city possessed solid defensive systems, including thick walls and imposing gates that protected its inhabitants against external threats, ensuring greater security in times of conflict and allowing the population to develop with a certain degree of stability. Daily life in this urban center was marked by a combination of agricultural and commercial activities, with fertile fields surrounding it providing essential food to sustain the local population and generate surpluses for trade with other regions. The presence of public buildings and spaces intended for community meetings suggests a structured social organization where important decisions were made to ensure the proper functioning of the city and collective well-being. Over time, Hazor became a symbol of regional power, known for its ability to influence neighboring territories and maintain trade relations that contributed to the economic and political strengthening of its population. Currently, the site identified as Tel Hazor preserves important vestiges of this ancient grandeur, allowing archaeologists and scholars to explore historical layers that reveal details about different periods of occupation and transformation over time. Excavations carried out in the area have brought to light remains of ancient buildings, paved streets, and objects that help reconstruct aspects of daily life, such as household utensils and tools used in agricultural and artisanal activities. The international recognition given by UNESCO highlights the historical and cultural relevance of this site, encouraging continuous preservation efforts that guarantee the protection of the heritage for future generations. Visitors to the site often express admiration upon observing the scale of the remaining structures, imagining the constant movement of people who once inhabited those areas and contributed to the formation of a dynamic and influential community. The ongoing study of these ruins has yielded new discoveries that broaden our understanding of the organization of the region's ancient cities, revealing how ancient societies developed complex systems of coexistence and administration capable of sustaining large populations and leaving lasting marks on human history. Number 4. AI. AI is remembered as a place that played a significant role in ancient accounts of conflicts and military strategies that marked the beginning of new territorial occupations in the region. Situated in an elevated area, the city possessed a strategic position that allowed for the observation of movements from a distance, which favored defense against invaders and offered an advantage to whoever controlled that territory. Its location also facilitated access to passage routes used by travelers and merchants, making the place relevant not only militarily but also economically, since control of these routes meant access to resources and influence over neighboring regions. The city was composed of buildings made with local stones, functionally organized to house families, store food, and protect essential supplies that ensured survival during periods of conflict or scarcity. Over time, Ai became known as an example of how strategy and planning could define the destiny of an entire community, as its history involves tactical decisions that changed the course of events in a short period of time. Ancient accounts describe the importance of carefully observing the terrain around the city, indicating that knowledge of the natural environment was a decisive factor in the success of any military action at that time. This type of planning demonstrates that ancient societies possessed significant organizational skills, capable of coordinating collective movements and using the terrain to their advantage in critical moments. Currently, many scholars link the ancient city site to the archaeological site of edh-Dhra, where extensive excavations have revealed remains that help to better understand the urban structure and way of life of the ancient inhabitants. Among the elements found are remains of walls, house foundations, and fragments of objects used in daily life, such as household utensils and tools that suggest agricultural and artisanal activities carried out by the local population. These discoveries allow archaeologists to reconstruct part of the site's history, analyzing how people organized their dwellings and distributed their storage and living spaces. When visiting the site, many researchers observe the layout of the ruins to understand how the terrain influenced defense and internal circulation, creating a clearer vision of how the city functioned during its active period. The ongoing study of these ruins has contributed to expanding knowledge about the historical period associated with the city, offering new clues about the relationships between different communities and about how conflicts and conquests shaped the development of early organized societies. Number 3. Jericho. Jericho is widely recognized for its historical importance and long history as one of the oldest known human settlements, standing out for its privileged location in a fertile region that favored agricultural development from ancient times. Over the centuries, the city became an essential point for communities that depended on food cultivation and animal husbandry, allowing the emergence of a stable population that built durable dwellings and developed efficient techniques to take advantage of the natural resources available in the surrounding area. The presence of nearby water sources contributed to the maintenance of life in the region, making possible the continuous growth of the city and the establishment of commercial activities that attracted travelers from different areas. Over time, Jericho gained notoriety for its fortifications and its ability to withstand external threats, demonstrating the skill of its inhabitants in building structures that protected the population and ensured security during periods of instability. The city became a clear example of how ancient communities could adapt to environmental changes and develop creative solutions to sustain large groups of people in the same space. Today, Jericho remains active within the region known as the West Bank, where modern areas coexist with historical vestiges that reveal different phases of human occupation over thousands of years. The current city features bustling streets, local markets, and communities that maintain ancient cultural traditions, creating a unique setting where past and present meet. Excavations carried out over the decades have brought to light layers of soil indicating the presence of ancient buildings, tools, and household objects that help researchers understand how early populations organized their daily lives. These findings demonstrate that the city underwent successive transformations, with new constructions being erected over previous ones, forming a historical sequence that offers valuable information about the evolution of human societies. Visitors to the site are often impressed by the sense of historical continuity, observing how a city that emerged so many centuries ago continues to be inhabited and used to this day. Jericho's permanence throughout so many different periods has become a symbol of resilience and adaptation, showing how communities can survive natural and social challenges by maintaining their traditions and rebuilding their structures whenever necessary. The ongoing study of this city allows historians and archaeologists to better understand the development of early urban civilizations and to recognize the fundamental role that places like Jericho played in shaping the cultural and social foundations that influenced the modern world. Number 2. Gomorrah. Gomorrah is remembered in ancient records as a community that developed in a region of great strategic value, marked by natural conditions that favored the permanence of human groups over time. The city is believed to have prospered in an area near the Dead Sea, an environment known for its unique geographical characteristics, with mineral-rich soils and landscapes that directly influence the way of life of the local populations. Proximity to natural travel routes facilitated the movement of travelers and merchants, contributing to the formation of an active society that depended on both agriculture and trade to sustain its daily activities. Historical accounts suggest that the city had an urban organization that included residential areas, storage spaces, and zones for collective work, indicating that its inhabitants maintained a structured routine to ensure the survival and growth of the community. Over time, Gomorrah has been cited as a striking example of a society that faced serious consequences for its collective choices, being remembered in ancient narratives as a warning about the risks of behaviors that compromise social harmony and respect among members of a community. The landscape surrounding the ancient city was influenced by intense climatic conditions, with high temperatures and periods of drought that demanded careful planning for water and food storage, demonstrating the inhabitants' ability to adapt to the region's natural difficulties. Currently, many scholars associate the ancient location of Gomorrah with the archaeological site of Numeira, where excavations have revealed remains of ancient constructions and traces that help to understand how the city was organized and occupied over time. Among the findings are house foundations, fragments of pottery, and signs of domestic activities that indicate the presence of a population dedicated to daily tasks essential to the functioning of the community. The study of these ruins allows archaeologists to analyze construction patterns and identify changes that occurred over generations, offering valuable clues about how the city developed and what factors contributed to its disappearance. Visitors exploring the region observe an arid and silent landscape, marked by natural formations that reinforce the feeling of antiquity and awaken curiosity about the stories that took place there in distant times. The preservation of these archaeological areas is fundamental to expanding knowledge about ancient civilizations and to keeping alive the memory of communities that, even though they have disappeared, continue to influence historical and cultural narratives transmitted throughout the centuries. Number 1. Sodom. Sodom is one of the best-known cities in ancient accounts due to its strong presence in the narratives of the Book of Genesis, where it appears as part of a story that has profoundly marked religious and cultural tradition throughout the centuries. The city is believed to have developed in an arid region, near areas of difficult survival, which demanded great adaptability from its inhabitants to cope with water scarcity and harsh environmental conditions. Despite these natural challenges, Sodom is believed to have become a population center, with social and economic activities that included limited agriculture, animal husbandry, and small-scale trade with neighboring communities. The city's internal organization suggests the existence of simple but functional structures designed to house families and protect resources essential for daily life. The surrounding environment was dominated by desert landscapes and rock formations, creating a setting that directly influenced the lifestyle of the local population. Over time, Sodom came to be cited in ancient traditions as a cautionary example of social behaviors and their consequences, being remembered in narratives that emphasize the importance of justice and balanced coexistence among members of a community. This reputation made the city one of the most recognized names in historical accounts, passed down through generations. Currently, many researchers believe its location was south of the Dead Sea, in a region where archaeological excavations have revealed traces that help to better understand the area's past. Among the sites studied, the edh-Dhra site stands out, where remains of ancient buildings, ceramics, and signs of human occupation were found, indicating the presence of an organized community in ancient times. These findings provide important clues about how people lived, worked, and interacted in that hostile environment, allowing scholars to reconstruct aspects of daily life and the transformations that occurred over time. The study of these ruins remains fundamental to deepening our knowledge of the ancient civilizations of the region and understanding how different human groups adapted to the extreme conditions of the desert, leaving marks that still arouse great historical and archaeological interest today. These stories show how entire civilizations can disappear and still leave their mark on today's world. And if that impressed you, in the next video, you'll see a place that rose from the ruins and continues to surprise even today.